It's time for Cats Talk Wednesday. Small town and big city joined forces. Vinny Hardy of Lynch, Kentucky, and Terry Brown of Louisville, Kentucky, team up to give you free-flowing, laid-back sports talk. Focus on Kentucky Wildcats, as well as pertinent information in the NBA, NFL, and Major League Baseball.
Here we are, Wednesday evening, another summer Wednesday TV. Here we have another episode of Cats Talk Wednesday. What's going on with you, man?
I'm doing well. It's officially summer now, so we are rocking and rolling.
Absolutely.
And summer solstice or whatever that is. I'm not into all of that, but yeah, it's summertime, so we good, man.
And as always, we still got stuff to talk about. We said it ended last week. Like, we'll see what happens between now and then. And as you like to say, yea, verily, stuff has come to pass. Some of the stuff people have been worried about kind of fell into place the way they wanted to all these weeks and months.
Yeah, Antonio Reeves is back in Lexington.
Yeah. That's the big one.
The roster's not quite as bare bones as we thought. We got a reliable super senior coming back, that was shooting at a 40% clip from three. That's why you can't get mad in May and June.
That's true.
Like you just can't. And the injury to Bradshaw isn't maybe not quite as big. I mean, it was supposed to be catastrophic, but he's at the father and son camp playing light one-on-one. Like, the math ain't mathing on that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of folks are upset at Clutch Sports, which I don't get. They make demands. Everybody makes demands. Like, players make demands of the coaches. Coaches make demands of the players. Part of the recruiting is everybody needs to agree on some things, right? Like, that's part of it. Well, this guy doesn't want to play this position. Yeah, they all say that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they figure out, okay, or maybe they don't figure out. Like, Anthony Davis has said he's not a 5. Do you know when he plays the 5 what happens?
I think y'all do pretty good, don't you?
Western Conference Finals this year. Champions a couple of years ago. You are a 5. Play the like. So I don't get too bent out of shape, but we did all this stuff about the roster and what Cal was doing. He announced the NIL directive, and now the roster is filled out. So we did all that sound and fury for what? All that wailing and gnashing of teeth, and we got a good squad.
It was either gonna, start to fill out or it wasn't, and it's starting to fill out. Get the Jordan Hart kid.
Yeah.
Whether you can use him this year, whatever, he's on the team. Jordan, the kid that committed to Ole Miss, Kermit Davis got fired, and he said, "I'm gone." And so, you bring him in, a scorer, 6'9", 190, and we gave this man a pass a couple weeks ago, but Bob Huggins brought himself back into the news again, and now maybe we'll see some Mountaineers do the Oscar Sheboy and go from Morgantown to Lexington. We'll see, but we didn't say nothing about Bob when he was in Cincinnati on the radio, and now here we go with another DUI, and his career comes to a tumultuous end.
So this is what happens with these guys, with these coaches. They do something bad, and then we've got to get all the stories about all the good they did, which we don't have to do that. Like, no one is saying Bob Huggins is the worst person ever and never did anything good. That's not what we're saying. What we are saying is, as the leader of West Virginia University, which de facto he is, the highest paid employee, you can't be 2 times over the legal limit operating a motor vehicle. That's what we're saying. Well, look at this good stuff. That's great, right? but that's part of it. And sometimes that's what happens. Bobby Knight, look at all the good stuff he did. Yeah, he also choked a kid, right? Like it's not like you do so many good things. It's a story that you have to tell, right? You have to say the good and the bad. We've all got some of those things, uh, good things and bad things. We've all got that, right? But stuff like that where you're endangering other people, yeah, that's a gots to go situation.
And I forgot that's what ended his time in Cincinnati. That was 04. And I was like, oh, I didn't remember. So 20 years later, we're doing the same stuff. We didn't really learn our lesson.
Right. And that's the thing too, is all these guys, particularly coaches, they preach this responsibility and they exhibit none of it themselves, right? And that to me is the frustrating thing about sports is we let these coaches or some of these personalities preach this kind of manhood and responsibility and exhibit none of it.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Knight.
Accountability.
Yeah, Bob Knight. Oh, you got to be accountable, blah, blah. Well, you're the one throwing the chair across the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you are going out of your way to be mean and petty and vindictive. And so we talked about that with Jim Brown when he passed away. That was part of it. His whole thing about accountability and doing things in the community. Well, then you can't be doing this stuff, right? Like, so you can't be putting your hands on a woman, talking about responsibility. It doesn't jive. But no sooner did West Virginia get Huggins out of the paint, as the kids say. Well, look at what he did. Yes, I get it. He raised some money for cancer. That's all good stuff. But that's not what we're talking about right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always what happens.
They put that clip out there when his player got hurt and, he went out there and consoled him. And
right. That's great.
Yeah.
But that ain't got to do with what we're talking about right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so we celebrated that at the time, right? We did. But we're talking about this. And a month, 2 months after saying what he said on the radio, it's a gots to go situation.
Yeah. Was this were you trying to get fired? I mean, with these actions, man, this is,
right.
A cry for something. I don't know.
So I hope, he gets the help he needs, but the usual suspects love Dick Vitale, but Bob Huggins, yes, we know he's a great coach. We get that. But this is a big deal. Mm-hmm. This could have gone bad for him, for innocent bystanders. Like this could have gone really, really wrong. This is not how you set that example for folks.
And Morgantown to Pittsburgh is not far, but you don't remember how you got there, and you thought you were in Ohio. I know it's close to Cleveland, but it's not. I mean, and so the fact that you're in a more populated area, the fact that you didn't hurt somebody or hit somebody or have an accident of a serious nature is real fortunate. That it could have been a whole lot worse. You're right.
And this is just me getting on my little soapbox. I just don't think we take drunk driving nearly as serious as we should. That's just me. Like it gets blown off as a bad decision or a mistake. No, a mistake is you put too much salt in a dish, right? There's a lot of things you have to do to get yourself ready to be behind the wheel intoxicated. And now there's so much between a cab and Uber and calls. Like you don't have to do that.
Mm-hmm. You could he make enough to have a driver,
Right. And that was part of my whole thing with the Mark Few stuff in Gonzaga. Was that last off season? Well, he just made a mistake. Man, that is anyway. So I don't know what'll happen to the West Virginia roster, but you'd have to imagine some of those guys will be on the move.
Yeah.
They had brought a lot of guys in, and you'd have to imagine that some of those guys will be on the move. But As it turns out, it looks like Kentucky's offseason not quite as bad as we were led to believe by some folks. Not in complete disarray. The roster is pretty good.
Nope.
It's, I believe, good enough to win the SEC. I understand the SEC is tougher than it was, or than it has been historically, but I still feel confident in this team. And, come big Blue Madness, I'll be ready to cheer them on like I always do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, Mr. Reeves, experienced scoring, a lot of things that were needed, a lot of things, which I'm not saying these freshmen couldn't provide that, but just the experience factor. Been in the program a year, been in college 4 years. We thought he was hurrying to get his degree so he could leave. He was hitting the books hard so he could say deuces, which totally turned out to be not the case. So.
Well, and that's the thing too, is how much do we really know? I have asked this repeatedly. You and I don't get into recruiting too much, but I've always asked, how do you know? How do you know your intel is good?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean that as a slight on people. If you've got a kid like Antonio Reeves and you've got 3 or 4 different experts saying 3 or 4 different things about what his intentions are, how good are your sources?
And by all accounts, he didn't say anything at all. As far as we know, he kept it all close to the vest.
And outside of declaring for the draft, which I thought was good, which I thought was par for the course, I wasn't upset about that. But how do we know what these demands are,
mm-hmm.
or are not? And even it just blows my mind that we just let these wild rumors run rampant. And I just ask, how do we know? How do we know what the player wants or his family or anything like that? And then, Jeff Goodman had a podcast to come out and Cal was holding him hostage or whatever that, like, what does this even mean?
Yeah. And I mean, and the some of those people have agendas and
right,
they don't care for Cal or whatever, and maybe they tweeting out a lot of stuff when it looks like he's leaving and gone, and then he's back. Now it's like you can kind of feel the dejection because they were hoping he would leave.
Well, and this is just I don't want to bash the media, but this is the thing, that you come out with hot takes. There's never any accountability for being wrong. No one ever has to say, I got it wrong. Right? They say wild stuff and like, oh, okay. And you just keep it moving. And that's okay. Whatever the topic is, people would just be wild wrong. We can just keep it moving. Mm-hmm. Or say something that we know makes zero sense. Nick Wright talking about, Michael Jordan selling the Hornets. Well, this got to be part of his legacy. His on the court legacy? And I think you can have multiple conversations at the same time. People are more complicated than that. People understand nuance more than they pretend.
I mean, because buying the Dodgers is part of Magic's legacy on the court.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is post-playing days, Isaiah Thomas has dropped the ball all over the place. I mean, lawsuits and this, the old CBA closing that, like, but on the court, he was that dude. Like, no, Michael Jordan's tenure with the Hornets does not color. No, that's not how this works.
No.
So these guys get to say whatever they want. be wild and crazy. And look, Kentucky fans, myself included, we're either going to be ranked top 5 preseason or not ranked. Like, that's just how it goes. And we get ranked in the top 5 just so when we stumble, people got something to write about.
Yeah.
You know, there was that stretch, and I wish I had it in front of me, because Jason Anderson, that worked for ESPN in Louisville before he went to Kansas City, there was a statistic at one point, and I can't remember exactly when it was. And it was Coach Cal had been in the top 5 preseason like 8 times at one point and had gone to 4 Final Fours. And people were like, oh, see, he's squandering talent. Well, then he looked at like everybody else during that time frame, ranked in the top 5. They'd only been to 3 Final Fours. So it's all how you frame stuff, right? It's this thing that blows my mind. I ask for folks to be consistent with whatever their gripe is. Be consistent. Because, as I've talked about before, the most remarkable thing about Cal's tenure at Kentucky, when he got here, it was you cannot win with freshmen. What are you doing? You can't win anything of any import with freshmen. That's what people said. Myself, I was like, I don't know, the one and done, these young freshman teams, I don't know. Cal said, give me talent over experience. That's what he said.
Mm-hmm.
And then 4 Final Fours and a title later, then it became he should have won more with all that talent. Now we look back at all that talent in the NBA. Now he should have won more. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, but you said that he couldn't. And now we're right back with this team. He can't win with freshman talent. You see how we came around full circle? Mm-hmm. See how we did that? Yeah. All I ask for is consistency, right? That's all I ask for with Kentucky fans. Look, be mad all you want to. Be negative. If that's how you do it, then do it. But be consistent. Like I've told you before, Kentucky football fans, they want to be pessimistic because Kentucky football has only been good for 5 years, not great for the previous 60, right?
Yeah.
Because anytime we're like, hey, we got Leary at quarterback and blah, 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 got Barry and Brown, them coming back, like, ooh, Liam Cohen's back. Well, in 1999, okay, in 1984, okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when it comes to basketball, we've been playing basketball for over 100 years at the University of Kentucky. Most of it has been good to great, but people want to be pessimistic. Why? Because the last couple of years haven't been that great. And so I get it. So people want to be miserable. I say this to my wife all the time. Whatever mindset they can be in to be miserable, because it's easy to have no hope and be miserable. That's easy.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's difficult to be a sunshine pumper. Especially with sports, because you have to find another reason to watch sports besides championships. They're just too rare.
Nope.
And if you're just in it for championships, then you're going to be miserable as a sports fan, because it's just, even like I tell you all the time, I'm a Lakers fan, right? 11 championships in my lifetime, 8 I can remember. But I'm 45. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of seasons that are non-championship seasons, but why are you watching? And some people can say, well, that's accepting mediocrity. No, that's accepting that you're not going to get a championship every season or every other season. It's just not going to happen. Mm-hmm. So why else are you watching?
I mean, I enjoy I enjoy watching. Is yeah, the championship runs are great, and then when those happen, those aren't enjoyed as much as they should be. You talk about consistent gripe. I've been saying that for ever since we've been on here.
Yeah.
But so when you finally get that season you want, and then it's well, let's go get another one. How about you better enjoy this one? Because look, you had it's 2012. Remember 98 was the last one, so let's enjoy this one because you had those years when you don't get it. And that's what makes this one that much more special. But it's enjoyable. Enjoy trying to watch. Enjoy trying to play. It's it's just fun. I enjoy watching the sports.
You want to see your team win,
Mm-hmm.
but the biggest, and we've talked about this before, but the biggest thing is for being a sports fan, is your team trying to win? At the professional level, is your front office fielding a competitive team? Right? Like, it sucked this year that the Lakers got swept out of the conference finals. That sucked. But in its totality, to me, this season was a win.
Considering how it started. Yeah.
I mean, it was an absolute win.
Mm-hmm.
And it is disappointing when the Lakers are really, really good and they get put out. But rooting for your team to win, there's a value to that. To me, a lot of folks like to make fun of you Cowboys fans.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as the Hall of Fame game rolls around, we them boys. Hey, look, that's great to me. Every year since '94, y'all come out every year. We them boys. But that's what it's supposed to be, man. Why are you here?
It's like the ladies, and some men too, watch their stories, they keep up with it. It's a journey, it's the ups and downs, this character, that character, this event's happening in such and such. Somebody, it's kind of like that for me. You watch the start of the season, the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows, this 3-game losing streak you didn't see coming. Oh, you ripped off 7 in a row. Oh, overcoming some injuries. Oh, now it's time for the tournament. Now it's supposed to the whole journey. I mean, I don't watch the soap operas, but sports can be soap opera-ish when you try to keep up with all the plots on the court, off the court. What's right. going on? This is, in a sense, it's like your stories. It's not as scripted as the Hollywood stuff, and you got improbable things, storylines that you don't see coming. That's kind of the reason it's so compelling to me.
Right. And so, if it's just championships you're after, you're just going to be disappointed.
Yeah. Because that's still 30-some years the Lakers didn't win one in your lifetime.
Right.
75% of the time they didn't. And as far as I'm concerned, you've seen enough championships for the Lakers. You're good.
and that's the thing is, I remember 2004. I saw a clip of that. I followed some Detroit people, some Michigan people, the anniversary of the Pistons winning. That stunk. That 4-1 series stunk. Boston winning 2008 stunk. That game 6, Lakers got boat raced by 40 points. I watched every minute of that game. I was like, this is terrible. I'm gonna watch it, but this, it stunk. But I was like, okay, this is going to fuel them, and then they won 2. So you got to find other reasons, and I think what happens is we experience those good, memorable things, and then we try to retcon it. We try to go back, like people. I had somebody say to me during the 2015 season, Kentucky went 38-1. By the time they got to, game 23, 24, it was tough to watch because they were waiting on Kentucky to lose.
As a Kentucky
fan, and I'm like, I don't buy that. You didn't sit down and say, well, this is the one that I refuse to accept that. Mm-hmm. Say it was a disappointment to not go 40-0. That's fine. That is it. I'm disappointed. I could taste it.
Mm-hmm.
Up 6 with whatever it was against Wisconsin. I'm like,
Mhm.
So I was ready for that. To me, that was fun. That was the easiest season I've had sports wise.
Yeah. Everybody else was watching to see if
Waiting on
we'd
them to lose,
lose.
but not as a
First,
Kentucky. You
yeah.
know, it's one of those seasons. You know, you get those seasons where it's like, all right, my team is going to win, and then they do it, and it's great, right? Like we realized in '96, pretty early on, like, oh, they're gonna win.
Mm-hmm.
Like even with the hiccup against Mississippi State, I'm like, oh, they still gonna win this thing.
Mm-hmm.
2012 the same way, right? Like, oh, they're gonna win this. But for me, you just want people to give your sports team to give their best effort, from the front office to the coaches and the players, and you get those moments. You get Jody Meeks down in Knoxville on a cold January night, right? And that stretch he went on, he went for 45 against Arkansas that year. Like he had a bunch of those big games, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why you watch. So yeah, I'm a sunshine pumper because why else am I here? You know, we try to say sports is a diversion. You can be miserable in your real life. Why am I going to go borrow some sports to be miserable about?
Yeah.
That's why I had to take a step back from baseball, man. Like I give too much for football and basketball. I need a break. I need this summertime break where I'm not living and dying with all this stuff, you know.
Speaking of baseball, you mentioned last week for y'all that listened last week, and y'all can catch us on the Roku and the Spotify and the YouTube and PS3TVLive.com on demand. You can catch us there. You mentioned how you didn't have nothing for Cincinnati. Like you hate the city, you hate the Bengals, you hate the Reds, and these Reds are about to get real cocky. I think they won today, which makes 11 in a row. They're in first place. The division is trash, but they're leading the division. So for whatever that's worth, but the Reds are popping off. You see them on Twitter and whatever that hashtag is, and this one belongs to the Reds. ATO.
And this one belongs to the Reds. Yeah.
TR, whatever. Yeah. So yeah. The lettering for that phrase. You know, Derek Terry and Kentucky Reds gal and your boy Randy Newman, Big Blue Express, all the Reds fans, Oscar Combs. So I think after they finish up with the Rockies, who at this rate they'll probably sweep them, my Braves go to Cincinnati, and I hope we can just go and shut all that down. Just go and quiet all this Cincinnati Reds talk. And I think if I'm a Cubs fan, which I can't tell your lovely wife Kate how to fan, but the division to me is still there. Any team can just get hot like this, and next thing you know, we're in first place. If the Reds can do it, maybe the Cardinals can't, but so can the Cubs and the Pirates and the Brewers and all the rest of them.
Quiet as it kept, the Cubs have won 8 of their last 10. They're only three games behind.
That's 2 good weeks. They can be in first place, and they can just
So for me, I'm hoping the Cubs catch them. I don't get the only time you see me out there flying the W is when the Cubs beat the Reds.
What is it? I mean, Cincinnati just. What is it about Cincinnati? I'm getting to where I'm not. All this past week and a half, they getting on my nerves.
I don't know, man. I think it was growing up in Louisville, there were a lot of Cincinnati fans for the Bengals and the Reds, and I told you that's how I became a diehard 49ers fan, Super Bowl 23, because those Bengal fans told me the Bengals was going to win. That's what they said. So 1989, they were like, Bengals going to win. I'm like, oh, okay, here's what you say. And, yay, verily came to pass, 49ers won. And the dude, all those Bengals fans, they said that Jerry wasn't going to do nothing that game. That's what they said to me. And they caught a Super Bowl record 11 catches for 215 yards and a touchdown, Super Bowl MVP. And that's when I was like, I'm out. And so when I'm looking to pick out a favorite major league team, no, it ain't going to be the Reds. I looked around the Reds, I was like, I don't want to be a part of this. And they were good then.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, I don't want no. So good for Cincinnati.
Yeah, I know.
Great for them. What I don't like about it is I saw a tweet today, and this Cincinnati being good and all this stuff makes me agree with people I don't even like. Because a Boston fan, I agree with a Boston fan. Because somebody from Cincinnati had tweeted out the Bengals had a winning streak, and then the Reds have had a winning streak, and the FC Cincinnati soccer team had a winning streak. And it was like basically, has any sports team or has any sports city had it this good? And I'm like, and a Boston fan was like, in a 4-year stretch, we had Stanley Cup, World Series, like Super Bowl, and NBA Finals. Like, yeah. And I'm like, why y'all gotta make me? I don't want to be with them.
That's right. Yeah.
I don't want to agree with Boston about nothing.
Yeah, but that's how crazy they talking right now.
But good for them, man. Whatever. Life's short. Enjoy your team. Yay for them. I don't know what else to say, but yay for Cincinnati. So I'll put that out there. Good for them.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Hopefully, Atlanta goes up there and calms all this stuff down. That's all I'm saying. But nice. Congratulations on 11 in a row, and all that kind of stuff.
But if they do all that and the Cubs win a division,
which could easily happen. It could easily happen. Baseball season so long, but with as close as they all are, the Cubs just need a good week and a half, and they could be right back. Just a good 10 days.
And they got the Cardinals this weekend in London. So
London,
yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, because forever ago when they announced it, that the Cubs and Cardinals would be in London, it was about the same time they announced that Kentucky and Michigan would be in London. So it was like, okay, if we could go to London, which teams will we see? And then we were like, well, let's buy this house. So that kind of that kind of worked itself into that budget there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yay for them. Yay for the Reds. Yay and this one belongs to the Reds or however it goes.
Yeah. But yeah. To me, this is kind of quietly snuck up on us. Tomorrow's the NBA draft, and we'll see Casey Wallace get his name called. And crazy things have happened. Who knows? Chris Livingston might hear his in the second round, and Oscar might. Who knows? But Casey Wallace. And to me, you talk about the Pistons. Tayshaun Prince. To me, the originator of the chase down block when he caught Reggie Miller slipping. Casey Wallace had a lot of little chase down blocks. Guys thought they could just go in with a little layup on him last year, and he erased a lot of stuff on some fast breaks as a point guard. But I think he's gonna blossom in the NBA. He's just 19 years old, and he's strong, physical. He's gonna have a good career, I think.
Yeah, and he wasn't 100% healthy last year, so I don't know if we saw him at his best. But is he going to be another one of these combo guards from Kentucky to make a splash?
He could easily.
And from Fox, Monk, Murray,
Maxey.
Maxey. Hero is doing a whole lot better than I thought. Quickly. So there's a lot of Kentucky guards out in the league right now. So could he be another one of those guys? I think so.
And he deferred too. You mentioned he wasn't 100%, and he came in quiet, soft spoken, didn't say a lot. You coming in, Oscar's the face of the team. You're a freshman. He kind of held back. It wasn't like he was trying to bull his way into being the man. So when necessary to take over, we saw him be assertive and do some things in some games, the Tennessee game, the Kansas State game, stuff like that, where he could when he needs to, I'm gonna go ahead and get these buckets and cook. He can do it, so we can definitely expect that on the next level too.
Yeah, the way the NBA draft is set up on potential, and that was just that shift, probably 15 years ago, where, and that's fine, things change, but it used to be just, we have seen these dudes at the college level ball out, and it was just kind of a, Shaq and all those guys. It's so to me the draft is great, but it's not quite what it was. Where's this guy that we've been seeing give people buckets? Where's he going? And right or wrong, I just to me it's a little bit different. And two, that's changed. These guys look too nice. They got stylists and stuff now.
You want to Charles Barkley, Elijah Wan stuff.
Take me back to the days where we got a 6'7" kid and his agent gave him $400 to get a suit. Give me that.
Oh man. Mm-hmm.
These guys look too good, man.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. It's not the same. It is potential. It is what they're gonna be, and it's not these kids' fault, but just the way it is. Jokic, man, the fact that his name, he got selected on the ticker during a Taco Bell commercial, where it wasn't even on the air. It wasn't even like the deputy commissioner coming up saying his name. It's just Jokic scrolls across the screen, and that was it. That's how he entered the league.
Well, that's the best thing to me is I watched a mixtape of Peja Stojakovic, and started out with his name being called, and how they used to just butcher those names. I remember Manu Ginobili was Ginobili for a while because it just.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, shoot, they couldn't even get Brett Favre right. Even Brett Favre with for Tagliabue. Brett Favre.
Well, in his defense, that's what it looked like. But
yeah, it's crazy though. So looking forward to seeing Kaysen and see where he goes. I know he's from Dallas and the hometown. I hope he doesn't go to the Mavs. That's just my selfish hope. I know there's some Mavs fans out there that would love to see him, come back home and rightfully so. But me, selfishly, as a Rockets fan, as a Mavs hater, anywhere but Dallas. Anywhere but Dallas. Go to your Lakers. Anywhere. I mean, your Lakers aren't there. They don't even care about the draft. They just free agency is where they do their thing. But anywhere but Dallas for Case and Wallace, and I'm good with that.
Yeah. The NBA offseason, you talk about the nature of the soap opera nature. The NBA offseason is the best. We've got Ja going away for 25 games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, he got to get help. And the toy gun made it worse. Because what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
If you get caught on camera with a real knife, why are you holding up a play knife? What are you doing?
It's the same punishment. I mean, it's like you clearly don't get it. If you really just playing. Oh, yeah. I just use a toy now. You didn't learn nothing.
So that and Zion, I'm not going to recount all that stuff. But that young lady, her Twitter account finally got suspended because she was going for a while with the Zion stuff. And, I try not to judge because you give me $200 million at 19 years old, I'm not making the best life choices. Like, and plus with him being injured, that's a lot of time not being with the team.
Yep.
And, as the saying goes, idle mind's the devil's playground. You might do some things that you wouldn't ordinarily do, with that situation. So, but I love the NBA offseason. Bradley Beal going to the Suns.
CP3 gonna spend his final days in. I mean, I doubt it, but in Washington, is this where? I'm sure he walks, but I saw that trade. I'm like, is this where this man's final days are gonna be spent?
I mean, because with Chris Paul, here's the thing about Chris Paul is probably what number 5 point guard all time if you had to just start ranking them.
Because they
Steph, if you want to call him a point guard, I don't, but that's just because I'm very stickler. Maybe CP3's third. Get Steve Nash up there. But I don't know what his legacy is going to be.
He was halfway there. He was up 2-0 on the Bucks, and I mean, like we could taste 40-0. He could probably taste the title, And
right. So I don't know. And the thing about Chris Paul, he just doesn't seem very likable. So I think that's part of the equation. And I mean, he's old, physically small and physically old. So I hope he finds a good landing spot, but I don't see him being a game changer.
And you don't see people. I don't anticipate teams like breaking their neck to get him at this point. He kind of flamed out last year in the playoffs. It was hurt or slowed. I don't know. I think he was hurt. Was it a groin again? I think at the end last year.
Yeah,
he didn't play.
And people are like, well, he can go to LA. That ship has sailed. Like, we do not need to add a 40-year-old point guard to go with our 40-year-old small forward. Like, that moves the needle whenever David Stern nicks that trade. Like, that would have been great, but not now. The Lakers don't need to move in that direction. So, I don't know where he ends up. The Suns, God bless their new owner, are trying to win now, but
Booker, Beal, KD, Ayton, no bench, which you didn't have a bench last year.
Yeah,
killed you against Denver.
And the thing about Ayton, everybody talks about. Look, I was up in Boise when Kentucky was up there. That's when Buffalo beat Arizona, right? And it was maybe a 15-point game, beginning of the second half, something like that. And I'm right there courtside. And I'm not one of these body language guys, But to me, it looked like he had just checked out. What? Like he was not like, hey, the outcome of this game got no impact on me. which is wild. And I said at the time, like, if you're 7 foot, and we had seen him dominate that year at Arizona, it's the one thing that frustrated me about. I'm trying to remember. Well, with Anthony Davis this year, who was it? It wasn't Memphis. No, it was Golden State. If I'm 6'11", 7 foot, you can't send nobody 6'4" to check me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Buffalo was doing. I'm like, you got to go. As a basketball player, you can't send somebody 6 inches shorter than me and 50 pounds lighter. Like, what are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's Dennis Rodman, giving people like Shaq and all, giving those guys trouble. But no. So, but that was just his get down. Like, yeah, we could win. I'm happy if we win. Mm-hmm. I'm cool if we lose, And that, if that's how you are, that's fine. But don't expect that dude to be any different.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, Phoenix. I mean, Kevin Durant. I mean, we're heading into year 16.
I think so. Mm-hmm.
And he's had his Achilles. He's had what was that one year in OKC? Like, you're not going to get that many games out of him, and you don't have a point guard.
Yep.
You don't have a facilitator, I should say. You probably. I don't think it's fair to say point guard because Jokic is the point guard for he's the facilitator for Denver. But that's what happens to Boston. They don't have a facilitator.
And Bill and Book can be Brown and Tatum-ish if it's probably how they'll look, yeah.
And so you got these three guys, but you're going to ask on any given night one of these guys to be a facilitator. And is that the best use of their skills? Like Booker can, maybe. Katie maybe can, but if I'm the Suns, I'm asking those guys to go get me buckets. And are you really bringing Bradley Beal in to facilitate? No, he's go get buckets, but you still need to run some kind of offense, especially in the playoffs.
And they're not going to scare anybody defensively. They probably going to give up as many buckets as they get because there's not really a lot of lockdown guys when you mention it.
And you need that. So I don't know. I'm sure we'll see some trades develop tomorrow.
Yeah.
But the Suns trade, I don't know, man. I mean, good for them.
Ayton and Monty didn't like each other anyway. It's been friction there for the past 2 or 3 years. Which one? Monty's gone, but who's the new coach? Who did they hire? But I have to look it up. But Delroy Lindo, man, he's not he's not that assertive. He's not the that killer instinct ain't really with him. That's what you're saying.
Right, and that's fine. Some people aren't wired that way, but I just don't know how that I don't know how it's going to work in Phoenix.
Oh, my Frank Vogel, former Lakers coach. I should have.
Yeah,
Frank Vogel is going to be trying to get all that to harmonize.
Are they going to be better than Denver next year?
Not likely.
Probably not.
Yeah, and Brown's probably going to leave, but Denver got their core. Even if Bruce Brown leaves.
I think you look at Sacramento will probably be better.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what we're going to get out of Golden State?
Yeah.
Draymond
declined his option. The GM is gone. It's going to be a lot different. That's what we talked about with JR. So how different are they going to look? And and going back to Case and Wallace, maybe the Hawks because his boy Trae Young. Who knows? We'll see.
Well, the thing about Golden State is Steph going to be Steph for another year or two.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody else is falling off.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever Draymond gives you his uniqueness, it's only valuable to Golden State. I see people like he could go this place, that place.
Go to the Lakers. He go to the Lakers. How about that?
No.
Bring him on in. Yeah, and Clay is Father Time is getting him.
Is undefeated.
And the young guys haven't maybe come along like they thought. Kuminga, Jordan Poole got punched in the face. And
we kept it moving on the face punching.
And James Wiseman, they already traded him. So
you can't have camaraderie if one of your players punches another player and just okie dokie. Like we have seen, now to be fair, we've seen other teammates fight. But it's never been like, well, and everybody just kept it moving. Like, that's just Draymond. Like, And especially with the Warriors, they already had that young guys versus old guys rift. And the young guys, like, they just letting them punch us in the face. So Golden State, you know, I'm hoping the Lakers can add a couple of pieces. Because we're to that point now. Hey, LeBron, you can only do this 20 times a year.
You need a point guard and what? A wing or what? What y'all need?
Yeah, I would say a wing, but also a full off season with some guys, with Vando, I'd love to see what that looks like. But I mean, we kind of pieced together on the fly, made the conference finals, so we'll go with that. I've grown tired of Dame Lillard in Portland.
Mm-hmm.
We get it. You're going through the grind. Good for you. Now stop talking about it. Like, I'm up here grinding. Okay. And then, he puts up 75 points. We're like, oh yeah. And then we just keep it moving. I'm grinding. All right, man. Playoffs is on. Like, so, he's a good player. I get it, but I'm working hard. All right, man. Yeah, okay. I don't need a championship. All right, you say. So you keep saying.
I applauded to try to stay in Portland, but the best chances of winning something have already come and gone. I think for him, he's 32, 33. Is he going to move and try to chase a ring now? Because we're getting to that point now to where it's like, oh, I'm not going to win nothing here. Do I need to move? Or maybe he stays up there his whole career. I don't know. Shaden Sharp might just...
we really trying to get put out of the BBN to bring up that dude. So we'll see. I mean, I think with the draft, I think next year's NBA looks fascinating. Can the Nuggets handle the bright spotlight?
Yeah,
I mean, we'll see. But for me, all these other teams that lost got some question marks. What Boston going to do?
Mm-hmm. Philadelphia.
Get out of! I'm so tired of Philadelphia.
Nick Nurse coming in there. Milwaukee, new coach. Middleton probably leaving, so they're gonna look different. What's the Heat gonna? Winning the Heat, what are they gonna do? They got all these undrafted guys. They overachieve. Spo is a great coach. What are the Heat gonna win it again? Heat gonna win the East again? I don't know.
Look, man, people keep talking about Heat culture. I get it. They grind and blah 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 blah. I get it. But when the Heat win championships, when you got elite Dwayne Wade and Shaq with still some air in his tires, right? And LeBron James at his absolute best. Those two championships, best we've seen LeBron James play, that was his peak to me. Physically, mentally, he was getting it to me. It sounds good, and every year we get not every year, but every now and then we get a team where it's a bunch of really good players. But the NBA, you got to have a dude to win. That's why the 04 Pistons are an outlier. Because in my lifetime, just thinking, they're the only team to have a dude.
Right.
Every other championship team, even Dirk, for the Mavs, Dirk's the dude. Like, and if we're going to talk about playoff Jimmy, well, maybe save some of those performances for the finals. If we're judging like that.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe you talk about the grind. Maybe Dame need to go to Miami. They both talk about grinding. Just merge their grinding and see what happens.
He could go to Miami, but
I mean, I like him too, but I don't. I don't know. He just up there tucked away, and it's just his window is closed to me. You know, when he was hitting shots and waving at Paul George and all them, I think his window is closed for that.
The thing is, and Bomani talked about this. I don't know who he was talking to about teams that reflect the cities where they live, and it's great. So for me, like Dallas represents the Cowboys represent Dallas because they think they're the center of the universe, and Dallas does too, right? Like everything's bigger out here. And that's Cowboys, right? So it works. The Lakers, we're in LA. We're gonna have 2 all-star greats, right? And we'll figure it out. Boston, in their heyday, we're gonna have a lot of white dudes because that works here, right?
Yep.
You know, but the Heat are the opposite. There's nothing about South Beach that's grit and grind. There's nothing about South Beach that we try really, really hard. That ain't South Beach, man.
You know? You're right. Yeah, they got that Detroit mindset down there in Miami. You know, that blue collar Milwaukee, St. Louis, Midwest feel. That's how.
So, but complete antithesis.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, the Grindhouse Grizzlies. That fits Memphis in the 901, right?
Mm-hmm.
We may not win, but you're gonna ice up after you play us. That's what they want in Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, South Beach ain't grit and grind. So I don't know. I think we're gonna see a transition because with LeBron being older, you got to figure Steph is out of the equation. What's KD going to look like? Like we just keep automatically putting him, and he's still good, but not the same KD, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is what happens every, you know, those dudes move on and we bring new people in, which reminds me, I saw something. Let me make sure I'm clear about this. Talking about who's your Mount Rushmore of the NBA.
Oh yeah, that's right. I saw you quote it.
let me find this real quick. Most influential NBA players ever: Kobe Bryant, Steph Curry, Michael Jordan, LeBron James. Man, okay. The NBA is older than 30 years. And people are like, well, that's when it became global. Okay. But during my lifetime, the NBA finals were on tape delay.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about influential NBA players, not necessarily the best. Because if we're talking best, I've got Kareem on that list, but influential, I don't think Kareem's that guy.
Right. He should have been. More dudes should have been doing sky hooks, but anyway, you
know. So for me, I think you have to put Bird Magic on there as a combo to take the NBA from where it was. Mm-hmm. And remember, the Lakers weren't profitable. If you watch a little bit of Winning Time, the Lakers were in dire straits before Magic got there. And that's with Kareem on the Rockets.
Unbelievable.
And so the league as a whole, right, was not great. And you have to put Bird Magic on there. Obviously, Michael Jordan. Those would be I know it's cheating to put Bird and Magic, but they go hand in hand. And then you put MJ up there. You probably, I mean, you go Bill Russell, Wilt, as far as influence. I think Allen Iverson makes a very good case as far as influence and changing the game. Like, I love Kobe. You know I'm a Kobe guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's just MJ. He just watched a lot of MJ.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, love him, but he just watched a lot of MJ.
Which Dr. J, I mean, you know, Elgin Baylor was the first above the rim wing guy. I mean, he the first one to have hang time, and Connie Hawkins.
Right.
Those guys like that. MJ gets a lot of credit because he got more eyeballs, but and MJ listen to MJ talk about David Thompson.
Yeah.
How the effect.
and for me too. I mean, Jerry West is a logo.
Mm-hmm.
That so it's all about influential. But I'm like, you can't have 4 dudes from the last 30 years. Like, there was a league before that.
Yeah.
It reminded me of a tweet. It's been a while ago. Like the most important, I forget how it was phrased, but it was the most important like rap song or rap album or something like that. And a lot of the youth talking about Kendrick Lamar and this, and this. And I said, Raising Hell, Run DMC. It was the first rap album to go to #1 Billboard, go platinum. I believe it went platinum. Yeah, platinum. And it was the first time we actually heard rap on the radio. I mean, I get it. In the last 10 to 15 years, there are a lot of great rappers out there. I don't listen to them because I listen to old stuff. You look at my playlist right now. I ain't got no new rap on it. I don't know who the new people are. Every now and then I see something. Was it The Source with the new people? I don't know any of them, Vinny.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm okay with that. I don't need to know them. They're not rapping for me.
True.
Right? So you have to look at how did this thing become popular? And I had somebody push back, like, the last 30 years. I'm like, if you made up a baseball thing for Mount Rushmore, and if you didn't have Babe Ruth on it, just out of like, no one's listening to what you have to say.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a Babe Ruth fan, but I know what he meant to the game of baseball.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so you have to count those people that came before.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the thing that I think when we do these lists that get overlooked is there are people that pave the way
Mm-hmm.
that we don't think about. And it's like that with a little bit of everything. The legitimate case could be made that Little Richard is the king of rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
The case could be made. Like James Brown was his opening act. Jimi Hendrix played guitar in his band. Like the Beatles came to watch his show. Like, it is like when he starts rattling off the people that worked, that but we don't think of him that way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Elvis is the king. Well, whatever. But my point is, there are these folks that are influential and
shape the whole landscape.
even in the rap game, as young as it is, our lifetime. No, your most influential, most important rap album can't be anything from the last 20 years.
Mm-hmm. It's like, that Run DMC, that's like Elgin Baylor playing Above the Rim. We hadn't seen that before. Nobody had heard it on the radio before. Nobody had seen hang time like this before. Everybody was mic and drill and, below the rim. It was like you said, it's brand new. It revolutionized. Elgin don't get credit for that, but he was the first one doing it. I mean, we weren't around to see it, but look at the old black and white clips of him, and you can still see that he was doing something different athletically in 1957, 1961. Oh,
So yeah, it's so we make fun of those days because we say there was just a bunch of plumbers and all this kind of stuff. The thing about the greats, they transcend that.
Mm-hmm.
And I I've pushed back on some of the use. Look, we're sounding like old people now. And yeah, you can point out to a lot of those rosters, even in the 80s, there's no room for those dudes now.
Mm-hmm.
Could Charles Oakley have made it in today's NBA? Probably not. But the best of the best, absolutely. You're telling me that rookie Michael Jordan couldn't make it? Like, you couldn't just pluck Magic and put him wherever?
Mm-hmm.
Because honestly, Magic laid the foundation for what we're seeing with Jokic.
Yeah.
The big man bringing the ball up. That's how the Lakers used him when Magic came back. He was the point forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, the great ones, like, oh, well, look who Wilt play with. Wilt could get buckets in any generation.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty of those of the greats is, yeah, it spent a lot of time.
You know, Oscar Robertson, they'd never seen triple doubles before. I mean, and now we see them a lot. I mean, but he was kind of the first one out there doing it. That's influential, you know.
Yeah, my dad's favorite ball player.
I mean, you know, and he was 6'5", 230.
Wasn't
you think
huge.
he couldn't, you know, that's like Mitch Richmond, 6'5", 225. You know, he could. You're not the tallest, but you smart and strong. You could translate and add the training and the nutrition and all that. Yeah, you know.
So, I guess we get older, but I think with the NBA, because I remember what it was, the first round games weren't really televised.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the first round game I really remember is Michael Jordan hitting that shot over Cleveland. And that was like on TBS, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So the game has come a long way.
Mm-hmm.
When you start talking about influential and influences and, people, I don't know if there's been a bigger impact than the 92 Dream Team.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, yeah, I saw that. I'm like, man, no. You can't have
the fact that they seriously, were really going with that. I thought, and they.
That's wild, man.
Yeah, that's what I couldn't. I didn't even respond to it. I saw you, and I was like, I said, oh, they're serious. They really. Oh.
and like I said, you can put Iverson on there for your list of influential because he did kind of take things in a different direction and received a lot of pushback for it, dress code and that kind of thing. But that's just me.
Absolutely. Oh, another Cruise Farm milkshake. Look at here.
It's not a milkshake. It's a root beer float.
Oh.
And there's your extra root beer.
Cruise Farm root beer float. Look at here. Wow. All right. You need to talk to Cruise Farm about being a sponsor.
A promoter. Here's your straw.
All right.
What's up, TB?
Hello, Mrs. Hardy. How are you?
What do you say? You got on headphones.
How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Excellent.
Excellent. I'm glad you're doing well.
Yes. We got to work something out where I can meet your Katie.
Yeah, we do have to do that.
Yeah, we'll get together. We'll have to set up something in Louisville sometime. Vinny and I'll set that up.
To meet in Louisville or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I'll wait to hear the call. Because I don't know anything about Iowa.
I know.
Not a whole lot to know.
Not a lot to know.
Oh. What we do for love.
I'm disappointed, Vinny. The field behind my house is not corn; it's beans now.
He had a field behind his house, a big field, and it was all corn last year. So he was, doing the corn stuff and got there taking pictures. But now it's beans, so he don't even have a big cornfield.
What kind of critters come out the cornfield or the bean field?
I don't know what they got going on, to be honest with you. So we'll see.
You don't know what they got going on.
you just look every now and then. You give it a glance. You don't really.
Well, we got Sammy on the lookout. He checks things out for us.
He got a security dog.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah,
That's good. That's important. That's important.
Sammy keeps
all right. Well, I don't want to mess up the big finale of the show. I just had to deliver a root beer float. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, gonna sample that here in a minute. But man, I think we hit the draft. We hit Reeves. We hit your Lakers, Nuggets. How the league is gonna look next year. Us.
Yeah, we becoming some old heads talking like we talked in the barbershop, but that's fine. That's fine.
Congratulations to LSU because Tennessee is out of the College World Series. So that's great. Let's see. Look like Wake Forest is beating them now. Wake Forest is, speaking of Chris Paul, the Demon Deacons here in baseball are doing their thing this year, but Tennessee is out. So that's all that I was worried about. And LSU did them the way they did us. So hey, they were a little too much for us, and they were too much for them Vols too. So glad they on the way home. Next week we talk about where Case and Wallace got drafted and whatever happens with Oscar and Chris Livingston and any other additions to the roster. And
we'll have we'll have some stuff to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully the Cubs in first place. We'll see how that goes.
There you go. All you need is a good week. One good week, TV, and they can just go from Millen Pack to looking down at the Reds and that Skyline chili and all that. I don't know how I was up there and just tried it, been hearing about it for all these years. The Gold Star and the Skyline, they can keep all of it. I can't mess with none of that. But y'all go ahead. Good for y'all on that 11-game win streak and that chili that y'all like up there. The Reds fans coming for us. We mentioned Shaden Sharp. We got a lot of people going to be coming at us for this episode. But
that's all right. I'm in Iowa. It'll take people a long time to get here, so I'm good.
Well, y'all enjoy the rest of your week, man. Glad Mama B and everybody got up there to see y'all this past weekend.
Had a
lot of fun.
Yeah.
Looking forward to doing it again next week. We rolling on through summer. The solstice is officially here, like you said, TB. So
summertime. High town, summer in the city.
Y'all check us out. Cats Talk Wednesday on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and Roku. And for Terry, TV, Brown, my name is Vinny Hardy. We'll be back next week on the BS3 Network, and we'll see y'all then. Play this outro. And Michelle, we're going to get you the podcast. She's tweeting at us, and she's waiting for it.
She's waiting.
We're going to get it to you.